I'm Mark Turner, a partner at Baringa and an expert in the Irish power market. We have just published our latest study on the decarbonisation of the Irish power system, entitled Bridging the Gap. Previous studies and government policy have historically focused on the end point of a 2030 or 2050 target. But what matters for the climate is the total CO2 emitted along the way. Attention is beginning to shift. As of this year, Ireland has adopted a carbon budget, a binding limit on cumulative carbon emissions for the economy as a whole. The Irish government has not yet published carbon budgets for specific sectors of the economy. However, analysis by Paul Dean at University College Cork suggests that the power sector budget could be around 55 million tonnes of CO2 in the decade to 2030. Substantial ongoing power generation from fossil fuels is rapidly eroding carbon budgets. Power sector emissions were around 10 million tonnes of CO2 in 2021 alone, almost 20% of the total budget consumed in a single year. This year's carbon emissions are on a similar track. Our analysis suggests that 66 million tonnes of CO2 between 2021 and 2030 represents the best outcome achievable for the Irish power sector under current policies, and even this relies on delivering all of the targets in the Irish government's latest climate action plan as quickly as possible. We show that it's not just the end goal for decarbonisation that's crucial, but also the pathway to get there. The pace and timing of renewable deployment over the coming years will have a big impact on cumulative emissions. We show that 4 million tonnes of carbon dioxide can be saved by faster delivery of renewables, equal to 2 full years' worth of emissions by 2030. Along with our collaborators, TNEI, we studied in detail the impact of system and grid constraints on carbon emissions, which is substantial. We showed that 15 million tonnes of CO2 results from redispatch of power stations to meet system and transmission limits and constraints. Ireland must strengthen its electricity grid and deploy enabling technologies. This will need to be a combination of flexible technologies such as energy storage, demand-side response and interconnection. And Ireland will need to deploy technologies to provide zero-carbon system services such as synchronous condensers. The transmission network must also be built out and upgraded, and there needs to be strategic deployment of constraint management solutions such as dynamic line rating, power flow control, and dedicated energy storage embedded in the transmission and distribution network. We show that a renewed effort is needed right now to ensure the fastest possible deployment of onshore renewable energy to displace carbon emissions in the first half of this decade. Offshore wind will play a big role in Ireland's decarbonisation journey, but 2028 is currently viewed as the earliest possible deployment date. This must be brought forward as far as possible. Achieving a step change in the rate of renewable deployment has to be viewed as a national priority if Ireland's climate ambitions are to be met.